every so often I think people need to be made an example of, and sometimes you just come across absolute crazy people doing this type of thing. And I learnt very early on doing these videos, sometimes when you encounter these people, ignore them. Or, because you can show these people as much evidence as you want, but they don't care. They don't care one bit. Because as far as they're concerned, there's a conspiracy to suppress that information. That information I've provided is wrong. They don't even have to look at it. It's wrong. They don't care because it doesn't match their thing. If they actually read it, they might actually have to admit, well, then maybe my conspiracy is wrong, but hold on a second. If that conspiracy is wrong, then that means this conspiracy must be wrong as well, because this conspiracy ties in with this conspiracy. And as I've said, conspiracy theories are nothing more than a massive spider web. And the more these people spin this web around themselves, the harder it is to, you know, cut the threads. Because all these threads start to support one another. It doesn't matter about evidence or anything like that. It's ridiculous. For example, I'm going to do a video about chemtrails soon, again. But if you want to see exactly how these people operate, apparently chemtrails are causing ill health effects. What's the evidence that these chemtrails are causing ill health effects? Nothing. Except people are getting ill. There's chemtrails. They can't even confirm these chemtrails. They can't even do proper scientific studies to confirm these chemtrails, which we'll be getting into the video. So this brings us on to someone who's been recently commenting on my channel called Stave Trueblue. And among the many other things he's been saying recently on this channel, we're going to take a look at two, because quite frankly, these two things are so outrageous. They're so outrageously wrong. I really do think this guy's a troll. And if this guy is actually being serious, then God help him. Because, good God. Okay. The first thing is, I was having a conversation with Ben, the Jet Reporter. He was bringing up the fact that, oh, you know, Andrew Wakefield and Pazuzzi, who have basically brought out studies, sent them for peer review, and they've come back from peer review said, you're wrong, your evidence is wrong, your study is basically blatantly wrong, and, you know, it resulted in Andrew Wakefield getting struck off. You know, there is nothing wrong with the MMR vaccine. End of story. And yet, his entire paper started the whole MMR scare. It started the whole anti-vax movement. You know, from that came the autism, you can cure your child of autism scams that have come out from it. And it's just like, oh God. And the thing is, though, he's never ever once acknowledged that he might have started that. That he should take responsibility and maybe try and set the record straight. So, while I basically brought that up, saying, you know, hey, peer review works, Stave Trueblue comes in and says, quotation marks, science likes evidence, facts, and all the evidence and facts show both of them to be wrong. That's true. LOL. Pseudo-skeptics and incredibly naive you are. Or how incredibly naive you are, I believe you meant to say. But pseudo-skeptics is... sorry, that's not skepticism. The entire scientific community says Andrew Wakefield and Dr. Pazuzzi's papers are completely wrong. In fact, Pazuzzi's... I can't even call him Pazuzzi. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's probably awfully wrong. I'm butchering his name. But it went up against 2 peer review boards, and both 3 boards came back and said there is no scientific information we can take from it because of how flawed the study was. That should be the end of the story. But no, of course, as you'll come to see, there's a conspiracy. Anyway, we continue. Believe everything you are told at school. Believe in the authority of men wearing white coats, like Dr. Edward Jenner. And this is his first mistake, because I've studied medicine through time. Again, anyone my age or was on the OCR curriculum will have done medicine through time as part of your coursework. In fact, you'll have done it as part of your GCSEs. And of course, one of the big people you study is Edward Jenner, the guy who observed that milkmaids and people who worked with animals, instead of contracting smallpox, they developed cowpox. Now, cowpox wasn't as deadly as smallpox, but what happened was these people ended up catching it from the cows because they worked in such close contact with them. However, this rendered them immune to smallpox. This is foundation of vaccinations. Now, there was a lot of stuff going on beneath the surface to do with germs and viruses and that type of stuff, but at this point in period of time, we didn't know that type of stuff. Germ theory had yet to come in and form the basis of modern medicine. You're talking about doctors or physicians who basically the prevailing wisdom at the time was you could go from one patient to the next and not bother washing your hands or even sanitizing your tools. Again, knowledge and wisdom we didn't know then, but we know now. Anyway, he was a very good and brilliant doctor and scientist. But not according to Steve. Okay, Dr. Edward Jenner invented the smallpox vaccine method and is the father figure of modern vaccination science. Well, not really. He was never a qualified doctor, never passed an exam in his life. Okay, that is absolutely factually wrong. And if, Steve, you would like to present your evidence, because, again, as I always ask people when they bring up this type of stuff, please do present your evidence. Because, sorry, first of all, back in that day, you could actually apprentice as a doctor, even as a surgeon, which Edward Jenner did. He even had a proper education growing up. He came from quite a well-to-do family. And as a result, he went to the University of St Andrews, where he got his where he got his doctorate. This is simple information to find out. This is not hard. If you think that is wrong, please show me your evidence. Because I'd love to take a look at it. I really would. Because you are going against the entire currently basically you are swimming against a tidal wave. You cannot it is impossible. I'm sorry. That is absolutely ridiculous. He continues. And his vaccinations caused so much disease damage to so many people that they were made illegal in France and the UK in 1840. Wrong. That is absolutely, categorically, 100% wrong. Britain and France never made Jenner's vaccination illegal. In 1840, they were enforcing the vaccination, because by that point, Jenner had proved that his vaccination theory worked, and that and that it was viable. Cases were going down where he'd vaccinated and people were immune to it. And as a result, the government took notice and rolled it out and enforced it. And this pretty much almost got rid of smallpox completely. Now, what you're saying at the first part, in disease damage, partially right. Because the way the disease was carried was they could have cut on your arm, cut on someone else's, and went like that. Anyone can tell you how wrong today that would be to pass vaccination. But again, this is the 1800s we're talking about. This type of information was just not known. They didn't know about diseases, properly diseases, how they were properly, carried in, blood, air, coughing and sneezing and things like that. It was just not known. The information was just not there. But again, if you think you're right, Steve, please do present your evidence. I'll take a look at it. I'm more than willing to. But at this point, you are 100% wrong. Anyway, he continues. You worship peer review. It cannot be questioned. Is your reality standard that is just so feeble-minded? Right, okay. No one worships peer review. Peer review is a system. And again, people like you do not understand how peer review works, because when papers that you support get peer reviewed, and then in the peer review saying, peer review comes back saying it's a load of hogwash, you immediately go, oh, the system's fucking wrong. It's a travesty, it's been whitewashed. That's not how peer review works, right? This is, right, basically, to break it down into the simplest terms, I present a peer-reviewed paper that every time I drop my pen, it falls to the floor. But every 11th time I drop my pen, it flies up into the sky. Now that is my paper. That is my hypothesis with my evidence put in, maybe providing a video. I then submit that paper to peer review. And someone comes along and goes, okay, I'm going to read your paper and I'm going to reproduce your experiment. And basically, every 10 times his pen drops to the floor. Now on the 11th time, the pen drops to the floor. Okay, now what happens? He writes another paper saying, when I reviewed your test, your study, every 11th time, I did not get your results. Hence, I cannot clarify your results to be accurate or correct. That's how peer review works, in its absolute simplest form. Yet, for people like Steve, they don't care. Because quite frankly, there's someone supporting their point. They don't care if it's wrong. Again, this Edward Jenner thing is absolutely 100% factually wrong. And please, do present your evidence. I'd love to see it. And I'm sure he'll continue to post one, and he has posted some wonderful stuff on my thing. I could spend days doing videos on the stuff he's posted, but I can't at the moment. I'm far too busy at the moment. But, yeah. There's some real, they put it like nicely, idiots out there.